welcome to your real estate journey, expert tips for buyers and sellers. I'm Dolly Lopez, your realtor and broker in the state of Florida and Kentucky. And in this podcast, if you're new to the channel, we will guide you and teach you strategies and provide you with advices to make informed decisions and educated decisions in the real estate journey. Today, like every Thursday, I'm joined by one of my favorite real estate attorneys, Valerie. Welcome. How are you?
Close to saying Leslie. Close, but not Leslie.
Valerie. Valerie. Oh my goodness. Because Leslie normally is also joined with us. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's not here today with us, but yeah, she's also my partner. She also is an attorney who focuses on real estate, but it's just me today.
Yes. I'm sorry, Val. Welcome.
Okay.
How are you?
Good. Thank you. I'm great. Excited to be here with you guys today.
So today we're going to be talking about appraisals and the importance of appraisal contingencies and what does an appraisal gap means.
Yes.
So can you talk to me about, from a legal perspective, what would you recommend a buyer to secure or to protect that initial deposit that they give? And one of the ways definitely is with an appraisal contingency. Can you explain to me what an appraisal contingency is?
Yes.
And also, why is it important to have it?
Of course. So the appraisal contingency is what we're going to do before we send an offer to a purchase of property, right? And I say that because every time I don't think really understand, buyers don't really understand that when you send an offer and that offer is signed, you are under contract. There is no changing the terms without both parties agreeing to that change. So it's very, very important that when you submit that offer, you submit it correctly with every term and condition that is most important to you. And one of those terms and conditions is going to be the appraisal contingency. And I'm going to talk twofold. I'm going to talk if you're sending in a cash offer or if you're going to be sending in an offer subject to financing. So if we have an offer that's a cash offer, you want to 100,000% make sure you include that appraisal contingency. Why? Because the language of an appraisal contingency is not incorporated into a cash deal. That is something that you have to attach to your offer, and it's going to protect your escrow deposit, because as a buyer, that is the most important part of a contract is your escrow deposit, because that's the money that the seller can attack if you breach in any sort of way. And the appraisal contingency states just very simply that appraisal needs to be done of the property, and that appraisal needs to come back with a valuation of the property at contract price or higher. And just so that we're clear, this appraisal doesn't need to be shared with the seller. This is something that you as a buyer are going to purchase. It is yours. You don't have to share that information, but it lets you know the kind of business you're getting into with purchasing this property, right? So you just want to make sure that your contract price, whether it be $500,000, that the value of the property is $500,000. And that's what an appraisal contingency is. And
to piggyback on what Valerie is saying, let's say that you have the appraisal contingency and the purchase price is $500,000. If the appraisal came back at $550,000, it's okay. You don't have to share with the seller. They don't need to know. The problem becomes when it comes under and you don't have this appraisal contingency, because if you don't, you are liable to make that difference. That payment difference. Let's say that it's $500,000 purchase price on that contract, and the appraisal came back at $450,000.
Correct.
If you don't have this piece of paper that protects you with this appraisal contingency, you are liable.
Protects you and protects your deposit, right? So that's the most important part. And so continuing what I was saying, as if you're buying or if you're offering with a finance section of your contract saying that you are going to be financing this purchase, the appraisal is kind of already incorporated into the finance language of a contract, basically stating that the lender will be requesting an appraisal, and the lender will require that appraisal to come back at contract value at minimum. So it's incorporated into your contract, unlike a cash offer. But I personally, if I'm representing buyer, I would still include an addendum because it can still protect you. So it's very important that you know whether it's a cash offer or whether it's a subject to financing offer, always include the appraisal contingency, because it lets you know, first and foremost, it lets you know what kind of deal you're getting into, making sure that you're not going to be below water the second that you purchase a property. And
Yep.
it lets you know the value of your true property to make sure that the value of what you're purchasing is the value of the home.
Yep, you are 100% right. Now, let's talk about an appraisal gap and what that really means, because I don't want people to get it confused. There is an appraisal contingency, and then there's another document that's called appraisal gap.
Correct.
And that really, truly what it says is that you're willing to give up to a certain amount above that appraisal value up to a certain amount. And that a certain amount normally is purchase price. And when you would use that, it's mainly when it's the property is very important to you. Like if there is a family that lives close by and you really want this property because of the proximity to your family member or something like that. But you know specifically.
There's an inherent value to that for you. Correct.
Exactly. But there are some other reasons why you would want to do an appraisal contingency. Well, you were mentioning cameras.
Right. So my personal situation is I knew the property that I wanted to buy because it was very close to my mother and I wanted to live near her. So I knew that I was willing to put $5,000 over my appraisal value because I knew that the value of that property was going to raise $5,000 or more within a year or two. And so my offer was a little stronger than the offers because it was already saying, hey, if the appraisal comes back at value or lower, know already I'm going to give you $5,000, right? Know already that you're going to get $5,000 on top of that. Why? Because now the seller is going to say, well, this offer is definitely better than the one that doesn't have an appraisal contingency, or I'm sorry, that does have an appraisal contingency, but doesn't have an appraisal gap. So now I'm for sure going to get more money this way. So it's very important that you look at it as a business kind of deal, right? You need to look at your finances and you need to look at it as in a financial eye to see, okay, if I put $5,000, am I going to see a return of that money? And I could tell you in real estate, values of properties go up much more than $5,000 within a year.
Yep. And it really depends on the location that the viewers are watching us from.
Of course.
But definitely in the state of Florida, for the most part, it is true. The same as in Kentucky. Those are the two areas that I personally work in. Mm-hmm. Valerie and her office works in the state of Florida altogether. Right. Eventually, they will be out of state, hopefully.
Yes, we'll get there soon.
So, guys, this is a conversation that you want to have with your realtor prior to submitting the offer. Right. What would make a stronger offer? Definitely consider an appraisal gap. And more so as the interest rates, they start to come down, there's going to be a lot more competition for the property. Yep. So you want to have that discussion with your realtor. Also, you want to protect yourself and have an appraisal contingency. Because otherwise, I mean, and we have been seeing a lot of appraisals come back a lot lower than expected.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately.
It's mainly because the sellers are wanting to put their house
higher value
for a value that is not there. Yeah. And unfortunately, there are some realtors that would take their word and yes, let's go ahead and do it. They're basically no takers without really guiding their clients.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's just a suggestion from us. I hope you got some value information. Please make sure to comment below if you have any questions. We can address them later on in another podcast. And once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.